Hi, and we're going to go ahead and start this section on major therapeutic techniques and interventions for marital and family therapy, MFT. There are 8 meta frameworks, lenses to help system troubleshoot for therapists. Of course, we're looking for a pastoral context, so a pastor, make sure that what are we trying to fix here? What is the concern of the family? Is it an internal family system? We were dealing with an individual. Is this a sequence interaction between the family members? Is this organizational? The family itself, the system itself, developmental, multicultural? Is this multicultural differences? Is that what's taking place? Is it a gender difference here that's not being recognized? Teleological, goal-oriented, and then of course the process. And of course, these are the lenses that we will use as hopefully pastoral counselors. And so these different techniques. So here we go. This is the first technique. It's called reframing, and it gives a new perspective and a kind of a more positive perspective. For instance, if you see you might have a child come in and says, "My mom always nags at me, is always nagging at me because I'm late, and always nagging at me because I don't finish my homework." Instead of saying, "Well, that nagging," and changing that perspective and saying, actually, the nagging is a good thing. It's your mom who's concerned about you, who loves you, and cares for you. And so by changing that perspective, you don't see it as nagging anymore. Now you see it as an act of love. So that's just one example of reframing different things that different individuals deal with. Another one is therapeutic double binds. This one is pretty interesting. It's instructing families to persist in their problem behaviors. So if you have a couple who's arguing, you tell them to continue to increase their arguing. So you would say, "All right, here's some homework. I want you to go ahead and increase your arguing." And you said you were arguing maybe twice a day. Now I want you to increase that to 6 or 7 times a day. And if they increase their arguing, then it shows, wow, they're in control of this. They can increase it and decrease it. If they just don't argue at all, well, there we go. The behavior is solved. So you found the solution. It's eliminated. So it's an interesting technique. I don't know how I feel about that one. So then we have enactment or role-playing actual family situations. The therapist can observe the effective and the patterns and give kind of feedback of what's going on. For instance, if it's a couple and they have a young daughter and the young daughter is not eating, and says, "Okay, what is going on?" and then notices the mom and dad start arguing, saying, "No, you're doing it wrong," and then that creates anxiety for the daughter, and then kind of giving feedback and saying, "Okay, maybe you guys should give a united front, which is stronger," and saying you need to eat your food, which of course alleviates some of the daughter's stress, and of course the daughter feels more comfortable and begins to eat. So role playing is phenomenal, especially when you have a third person kind of giving feedback about what's happening. When you're in the system, it's very difficult to see the system, but when you're an outside observer, it's a lot easier to be able to point things out. Family sculpting. This is asking families to, become the director, and this is dealing not so much with verbal, but it's more dealing with physical space, and saying, "Okay, how do you see your relationship with these people?" And for instance, it might be a daughter who might see their relationship closer with their mother, so of course their mother is a little closer to her, and however their dad is a little distant, so the dad might be 10 or 5 feet out. I don't know how big the office is, and the brother might be 15 feet out, not very close at all with their brother, and then switching it and seeing these different patterns, these family systems, subsystems, can clarify for the whole family. Another one is circular questioning. This is another technique. Bring attention to family interaction by asking each family the same question about an event or relationship. And by going around and having each person give their feelings and their perceptions. Is not being this is kind of a non-confrontational way of doing it. This helps to shatter any views of different negative views into more constructive perspective. And so, you ask everybody about the same situation, and it's also great because if you're a pastor or counselor, you kind of get the feelings and the depth of each individual. Okay, this person tends to be the family fixer. Okay, this person tends to be the middle child syndrome or the oldest syndrome or whatever, and you're able to kind of figure where people are out, and then hopefully they see that by each one sharing their own experiences, and then you can help give a more constructive perspective. Cognitive restructuring. This is helping families members identify and challenge their individual maladaptive and distorted ways about themselves or views and their family problems to more accurate, realistic, and rational beliefs. For instance, there might be a couple who are arguing and they're afraid, they're arguing, so obviously because they're arguing so much, this is going to end up in divorce because that's what happened to so-and-so or whatever, and so they just say this is going to end up in divorce. They go to the counselor, and the counselor just says, no, this is not going to end up in divorce. Actually, conflict is a good thing because conflict, there's actually a lot of growth, and when there is a solution and it's solved, it brings actually the two people closer together. And so it completely restructuring their way of thinking, cognitive. Miracle question. This is a great question. I think we already know this technique, but now we're putting it into system theory, which is relational group perspective instead of an individual focus. And as if you were to wake up and the problem was gone and solved, what would be different? How would you know? How would you act? This question is asking any family to find the potential solutions to old problems. So it gives different perspectives. And someone might say, well, if me and my wife weren't arguing so much, it'd be great. I'd feel great. I'd come home great. There'd be open communication, and so I think by bringing those miracle questions out, it helps find more solutions to older problems. Externalizing. This is, of course, part of narrative therapy, but externalizing is helping families view the problem not as a family problem or some kind of an identity problem. This is what the family deals with. This is what we always dealt with. This is part of our identity. It's not good when you incorporate it as your identity, but it's an external problem. It needs a solution. For instance, it's not mom who has depression issues. It's depression is attacking my mom. Depression is paralyzing my mother. What can we do to solve this problem of depression? See, it externalizes it. It puts it in a more of a focus. It's not us against mom. It's us against the depression, the problem. Boundary setting. This can be another technique if families are too enmeshed together and maybe giving their adolescent child, their teenage child, some privacy, some family rules, give them some privacy and alone time. Or maybe they have very rigid boundaries, and it's now we need some more connection and establish some connections with the family members, saying, okay, we're going to have the family, seems like they're all separated, they're not talking to each other, they're not connected. All right, we're going to have a family dinner, and this is what's going to happen. And of course, the genogram, which I talked earlier in the other video, is 3 generations, and then seeing patterns in these generations that come down, either their strengths or weaknesses. Grandpa was an alcoholic, dad is an alcoholic, I'm going to be an alcoholic, my child's going to be an alcoholic. Okay, there's a generation. That's so just seeing those patterns, or maybe emotional ones. Dad was extremely angry, grandpa was extremely angry. I'm going to be extremely angry because that's just the family tradition, I guess, or whatever you see in the genograms. So those are some of the techniques And now we're going to go ahead and go to the next video, which is going to discuss some of the benefits, the strengths and weaknesses of this theory. Thank you.